The poet who has written the poem My Mother at 66 is none other than Kamala Das. Her mother, when she was sleeping, when she was in a deep sleep, she just looked like a dead body. She started looking at the trees sprinting. So she started looking outside. The poet wanted to come out of that thought. So she started looking outside. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to your prep school English class. So what are we going to study in today's session? In today's session, we are going to study one of the beautiful poem known as My Mother at 66. Whose mother is it? Is it your mother or my mother? Not at all. It is the poet's mother. So what are we going to study in today's session? In today's session, we'll be studying about the author, the summary, analysis and the poetic device. So without wasting much of our time, let's dive deep into today's session. So who's the author of the poem My Mother at 66? It is Kamala Das. So but why have written Madhavi Kutty? Madhavi Kutty is her pen name of Kamala Das. The poet who has written the poem My Mother at 66 is none other than Kamala Das. Madhavi Kutty is her pen name. And she is also an Indian writer who was born in Malabar in Kerala, that is in Kerala. And she was also known for her originality, versatility and indigenous flavor of the soil. Because she belongs to Kerala, it's known as flavor of the soil. Not only that, her work centered on personal rather than colonial experiences. Wrote both in English, most poetry and Malayalam. So she has written her works both in English and Malayalam. She has also published her novels and short stories in English and Malayalam language. And it is also named by Madhavi Kutty. So it comes under her name, that is the pen name Madhavi Kutty. Other than that, there are some notable works of her. A Doll for the Child Prostitute, Alphabet of Lust, Balyakala Samarankal, My Story, Padmavati the Harlot, The Old Playhouse and other poems. These are the other notable works of Kamala Das or Madhavi Kutty. So now let's see about the poem here. So My Mother at 66, as I told, it is a very beautiful poem. So before going with the explanation, let's see the poem all about. Let's go through the lines. Driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning, I saw my mother beside me. Doors open mouth, her face ashen like that of a corpse, and realized with pain that she was as old as she looked. But so here in this poem, from the beginning till the end of the paragraph, it is a continuation of the lines. You can see the punctuation marks, but you don't find any full stop in between. So this poem is in free verse. So the poetic device is free verse. The beginning. Driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday. So here, the poet had gone to visit her parents' home, that is near Cochin. She had been returning home, that is when? Last Friday morning. So she went to visit her parents and she is returning back to Cochin. So where is she going? She is going to Cochin. So she is going to Cochin, that is last Friday morning. So Friday morning she is going to Cochin. On her way back, so when she was on her way back to the airport, she noticed her mother. So what the mother was doing? The mother was sleeping, who was sitting beside her in the car. So the mother was dozed. Dozed, it means to say sleeping. Who was sleeping? The mother was sleeping. When they were on their way to airport, the mother had accompanied, or the mother came to drop the poet. So at that time, the poet notices her mother when she was sleeping, that she was sitting beside her in the car. So her mouth was opened. Whose mouth? The poet's mother's mouth was open, and the face was pale and lifeless. Almost she looked just like a dead body. That is what it means to say corpse, and realized with pain. So ashen like that, it means to say her face looked like ashen. So here it is simile, because you can see the word like is used. So it is a simile. So her dead body is compared to an ashen. Ashen, it means to say once your body is buried, after your death, the body will be buried. So what remains over there? It is only the ashes. So here, her mother, when she was sleeping, when she was in a deep sleep, she just looked like a dead body and realized with pain. So the poet, she realizes that with so much of pain. Now, when she realizes that her mother is as old as she looks. So the moment of realization brings the poet a lot of pain. Always it is very hard to accept the reality, isn't it? So that she was as old as she looked, but so who is looking as old? That is the poet's mother. She was looking as old as she looks. At last, she says that it is very painful when she gets to know that is the reality of the life, that her mother is too old. Moving to the lines, and the lines over here are: put that thought away and looked out at young trees sprinting, the merry children spilling out of their homes. But after their airport security check, standing a few yards away, I looked again at her, one pale as late winter's moon, and felt that old familiar ache, my childhood's fear. But all I said was, see you soon, Amma. And all I did was smile, smile, and smile. So what are these lines talking about? Put that thought away. So now here the poet wants to put the thoughts away. What thought she had in her mind? That her mother is too very old and she looks as old as she is. She wants to put that thought out of her mind and she did not want to think about it anymore. So what she wants to do? So to put that thought out or to come out of that situation, she started looking at the trees sprinting. So she started looking outside. The poet wanted to come out of that thought. So she started looking outside. So when she sees outside, she can see the trees. She can see the trees from outside of her car's window. So she could see the trees outside her window because she was just looking out of the window. So when she sees the trees outside the window of her car, there it seems like as if the trees are running fast. So how was the tree running? It was an imaginary. She feels that the trees was running fast in the opposite direction. Not only the trees, even she also sees some of the children, merry children, that is most of the children just rushing out of their houses to play. So here children spilling, here the children is not spilling anything. It is just an imaginary lines. The poet tries to say that even she could see some of the children rushing out of the house and going to play. Out of their homes, the children are rushing out of their homes. But after the airport. So after that, both the young trees and children presented a short contrast of the old and ill-mothered who was sitting beside the poet. By the time they reached the airport, now they were going on with the security check. So at that time, after the security check was over, the poet looked at her mother again. So when she looked at her mother was standing few yards away from the poet. So where was the mother standing? The mother was standing few yards away from the poet. So the poet looked the mother again and she was like one pale as late winter's moon. It means to say when she looked at her mother was pale, colorless, lifeless, and she was looking dull. And she is also compared to a late winter's moon. It means to say she was looking very dull, she was colorless, she was pale, and she was lifeless. In such a way she was looking. And felt that old. And she felt that my mother is old now. Familiar ache, my childhood's fear. So here the poet is about to go away and leave her mother. So at that time, she just recalls her old familiar pain. So what happens in the childhood? If your mother have left you and gone somewhere, until she comes, we will be in search of our mother. So that is what she finds here, or she thinks over here. She says that old familiar pain. That is, in her childhood, the fear what she had, now also she would have the same fear that she would lose her mother. That kind of a fear she is having right now. Familiar ache in the sense the same old familiar pain in her childhood, that is in her mother childhood. But all I said was, see you Amma soon. So before leaving, what is she going to say? Before she leaving and going, her mother, she just tells her mother, see you Amma soon. So here the poet is trying to hide her emotion behind smile. What is the poet doing? The poet is just trying to hide her emotion behind the smile because she is grown up. The poet is grown up, and at last she says that all I did was smile, smile and smile. She says her mother, I will meet you soon, Amma. She says that. And whatever the hope that she had given to her mother as well as for the poet herself, saying that I would meet you again. Saying this, what did she do? She just kept on smile, smile and smiling. Now let's see the poetic device used in this poem. Her face ashen like that of a corpse has a late winter's moon. So ashen like a corpse. Ashen, as I told, it is nothing but once you're dead, your body is buried, and once it is buried, you can see the powder. That powder is nothing but ashes. So here the corpse is used with a, that is compared with a, or it is explained or expressed with the word like. It is, that is, ashes are just like the corpse. Corpse, that is, that body is just like a ashes. That is known as simile. So in the first line you can see the simile, and the next, young trees sprinting. That is personification. Young trees sprinting. It means it's a personification. Merry children spilling out their homes. Merry children spilling. They are here. The children are not spilling anything on the floor, or they are not just throwing out of the basket whatever it's there. They are not doing anything. It's just the imaginary lines. So spilling, it means to say the children were rushing out of the house. That she was as old as she looked, but soon, and looked out at young trees sprinting. All I did was smile, smile and smile. So here it is the repetition of the words. So which are the words repeated? You can see looked and looked. It's a repetition of the word. And you can see smile, smile and smile. Again the words are repeated. So the poetic device is repetition. And also you can take this for alliteration. You can see the consonant letters, that is S, S, S. So when there is a consonant letters, it is known as alliteration also. With this, I hope you have understood the poem My Mother at 66. We'll meet you in the next session. Until then, keep learning. Good day. Thank you.